Life was thrown for a loop, and I had several tragedies within months that happened. My first tragedy was my grandmother dying, who was my mentor when it came to my art. My second was my sister, who ended up in a coma, and she came out, but it was just not the same. My third was we came home one day and we found a rabid bat on our front doorstep, and it was tragic. We sent the bat away to get tested because we heard that rabies was going around on bats. So they came and picked it up and called us back the next day and said it did have rabies, and that they knew that we had two boys, and they said that, the rabies are very contagious. You can get it through the saliva. So you have two choices, and that is no human contact for 6 months. Even though they all had their shots but one, which was a puppy, Basset Hound, they still said the chance could still happen. So we decided to have them put down. And they actually came and picked them up that evening. And I was actually so distraught that I laid flat in the street crying. And my neighbor came out and she's like, "Carrie, you have two beautiful boys. Get up. You need to go back in that house and, go be your mother that you are to those boys. And I'm sorry this happened to you, but everything's going to be okay." So that night I went to bed and I could hear my husband coming into the house, and he was crying, and he noticed they were gone. And so he got into bed, and I'm very spiritual. And I had a spiritual moment right then and there. Something happened that told me everything's going to be okay. So I told my husband, everything's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. The next morning we woke up and took my boys to school and came home, and I looked in the paper and I saw an ad for Bouvier's and had no idea what I was going to get. I've never met a Bouvier before. So I went and looked, and yeah, I never seen these dogs before. The mom was a mess. Funniest looking dog I've ever seen. Dad was a big bear, and she looked like a malnourished cub with stringy hair. Well, we didn't care. We just wanted something. So we took her home. Our kids came home and they're like, "What the heck is this, Mom? What is this?" And Jacqueline's like looking at him like, "What are you talking about? I'm it. You guys aren't it. I'm it." Bouviers are clowns. They are so funny. If you've never had the chance to meet one, someday you need to. So, she started growing all this hair, and I'm going, I'm going to have to groom her. Never groomed her, just brushed her. But this hair was getting longer, and took her to the beach every day. And I'm like, so I went around to all of the grooming shops, and I'm like, you know what? These dogs do not look happy there. There's no way in heck would I ever think about bringing a dog into one of these grooming shops. The workers looked so unhappy. The dogs were barking. Yeah, no way. So I decided that I was going to learn how to groom Jacqueline. I'm an artist. I can do it. So I got literature from a breeder, and she sent it, and I learned how to groom Jacqueline. Scissor groom Jacqueline on my washer and dryer. Lo and behold, I have this beautiful dog underneath this big mess. So they said, can you please bring her to the dog show so we can see your work? And I'm like, sure, I'll do that. So I brought her, and they were just so floored how cute she looked and how good she looked. They're like, you should do this as a living. I said, well, how? I don't have a way of doing it unless in my garage, but I don't have all the supplies. I just scissor her. So they decided that I should be a dog groomer, that I could make money. And I'm like, I'm not really doing it for the money. I really love what I do. I love grooming Jacqueline. So next day I see an ad in the paper, and it's this lady in Newbury Park is looking for a groomer. So I call and I get an appointment to go up there, and I meet with her. And an hour later, she's like, I'm hiring. Not only that, you're going to buy this business. And I'm like, how in the heck am I going to buy this business? How much is this business? She's all $30,000. It's not much. It's a lot of money, lady, when you don't have any money. She's all, it'll happen. It'll happen. Well, it did. I ended up buying Gentle Grooming. It was the best thing I ever did in my life. And the reason is I was able to work with my husband. He quit his job, and we became co-owners of Gentle Grooming. I love that name because every dog that came in the door, I'm in the belief that you do what you say. So I did. I made sure that every dog that came into that door, I was gentle grooming that dog. So these dogs all started wanting to come into my shop, which was hilarious because a lot of people were like, didn't used to act like this before, but now this dog really wants to come into your shop, Carrie. They just love you. Well, so 7 years came up, and we homeschooled our kids in our shop every day. And we had 6 dogs. So we decided it's time to sell the shop and go back to our hometown, Ventura. So we sold it, and down in Ventura, we bought a shop down there and ended up really loving Ventura, the people in Ventura. Very good, loving people. I've lived in Ventura all my life, and that's why I went back. Because Ventura people are down to earth and loving. So I ended up 3 years of building our business because there was really not much clientele that we bought. So we ended up moving up the street on Main Street, 1,500 square feet. It was a shell. And we decided to open a daycare so then the dogs can run around. And then they would have friends to play with when they would come in to be groomed. Bingo! They loved it. All the dogs loved to come to our shop. They actually sit around me while I'm grooming, and I do my art at the same time and make the dogs happy and play with dogs. And I'm with my husband all the time, which sometimes could be a plus or a minus, but lately it's a plus. So, yeah, that's how I became a dog groomer. And I have to say, a pretty successful one too. I have to say I would never change what I've done. I'm very grateful and blessed.